Yes, we are truly indeed very delighted to have you join us once again. This is Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. I am Henry Igwebike.
And I'm Choma Okohe.
All right, and just a bit, we'll be going to our newspaper headlines to see all that we have for you this morning. And right after that will be our main conversation also for today. So I will get everything all produced for you. Please do well to be part of our community, belong to our tribe, and have a say in what we say. We are at Enterprise TV News.com, and also like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. With us today in the studios to take a look at all that we have, our newspaper headlines, is no other but Cyril Abaku, journalist and public affairs commentator. Good morning, Cyril.
Morning.
And welcome.
Henry. Thank you.
All right, so quickly, without much ado, let's kick off our newspaper headlines like this with the first story. What do we have, Juma?
Yeah, we'll be starting with the big story on the Daily Trust newspaper. DSS releases a 0 minutes to NLC deadline. We have about 2 writers to that particular story. Operatives go after Surab directors, raid Abuja office. NUC Amnesty International, Falano, others condemn act. Secrets please, ma'am.
All right, just below that story on the bottom street, we have a high transport fare. Students trek, others boycott school.
Okay, moving on the top street. Tinubu's absence forces APC to postpone caucus NEC meetings.
And also, importantly, we have it, the bandits have killed 7 Abduct nurses, orders in Kaduna and Sokoto. But we have it exclusively here from the Daily Trust newspaper. Of course, the bandits have killed 7 people, abducted many others, including nurses in Kaduna and Sokoto state. Particularly, it said here, the 5 people were reportedly killed and several others kidnapped after bandits attacked Kala Afogo in Kajoro local government area of Kaduna state. It further stated that locals reported that the bandits stormed the village around 11:15 p.m. on Sunday, breaking into houses to capture their victims. Wow, that's a big one. The temerity is what I'm looking at here. Cyril Abaku, you know, this is becoming a norm for us. It's becoming like it's no longer violence for us in Nigeria, and it's simply because of the lackluster approach of our security architecture. But I'd love you to tell this story, particularly going by what we see in Nigeria when security operatives are going after people that are not necessary and allowing people that need to be captured go free.
We owe the victims. We owe them. Those of us who are still free to speak. We owe those who are not free to speak anymore. That is why we continue to highlight these attacks, even when it looks like it has become the norm. And should we really continue to say it? Isn't it boring? If you analyze Enterprise Morning's conversations, we're always talking about insecurity, Sokoto, but we will never get tired of, because if you did, it means you have now colluded with the enemy to willingly cede your right to live to those who want to take your right to live. Now, people of Kaduna, I don't know how well their voices are being heard, but like my Dr. King said one time, injustice in one place is injustice everywhere else. So that they can't speak for themselves is not a problem. We will speak for them. Now, let me take a man back to Niger State, where so-called bandit terrorists, whoever they were, kidnappers, came, spent an entire weekend, cooked noodles. Relaxed, had a picnic of some sort. Kidnap who they will kidnap, kill whom they will kill, and then walked away. Now, while you're talking about the temerity of the attack, which again, in fact, I'll call it the master temerity, because they keep doing it every time and getting away with it, right? But there's also the porosity, which you refer to as the lackluster approach. Well, where an adjective is used, I want to assume that there is also a verb, because if something is weak, is that a weak for lackluster? Weak in that sense. Isn't it possible that weakness is because of a weakening? So if it is lackluster, what made it become lackluster? That's where I'm going. We see what has happened in Kaduna. Are you aware that in the Kaduna incident, the nurses were not the target of the attackers?
Yes, they were actually these primary school students.
They went to look for a school. They went to a school. When they didn't find anybody to kidnap in the school was empty. Then so these people have the luxury of planning an attack, gathering intelligence, and even missing out on the right intelligence. Then acting on wrong intelligence, missing their target, and having all the time in the world to even in, I mean, because we see this is in movies, and I've never been in robbery before, but even armed robbers, it's not easy to just change target or something.
Have a plan B.
Yes, a plan B. They had all the luxury of time to move from the school to the to a primary health center, then be able to abduct or arrest, kidnap the nurses. Now, on the other side of it, when the police was contacted by Daily Trust, right? Because that's what they do. They couldn't be reached. And as at when Daily Trust went to bed last night, state government had not said anything. Who again? The police had not said anything, of course. All the agencies that should have spoken had not said anything about the attack. So how are we coordinating this whole thing? Because I can tell you for a fact, every military victory, every security victory is not won by guns and boots. It's not. It is won primarily by soft power. By your eyes. In the modern world, they call them listening posts, if you know what I mean. They call them listening. People who listen in on your enemy's discussion and come and tell you what they're thinking and planning. So if even the enemy planned wrongly, executed wrongly, and now time to retool and recalibrate the mission and succeeded in executing a secondary mission, it was us who didn't know that such an attack was coming. Who didn't know that such an attack was on the way? Who didn't know that such an attack had failed? Who didn't know that such an attack was now being redirected? Are we that dumb?
Okay, now, Cyril Abako, sorry to cut you short. Now, at this point where the initial target was the primary school students, but they were not available at that point. And looking at school is opened now.
School resumed yesterday, yes.
School resumed yesterday, and some schools will resume by next week. Now, isn't this an avenue for the police security or the security operatives to now look for a means to actually try to protect these children? Because they will definitely come back, because they are the targets, because they feel parents will do anything just to release their children. And that is the plan of the bandits. What is the way forward?
No, so it's a good question. The attack on schools. There was this school in Yobe State. I can't remember the name. It was a federal government boys secondary school. Was it Buniyadi or somewhere? They went. It was a deliberate attack on the school. Dapchi was a deliberate attack on the school. Chibok was an attack on the school. Back in the Jonathan brought the Safe School Initiative. But the fact is that some elements are bent on de-educating children in the north. Now, so what do we do about it? Why was there any attempt by sick? Because like I told you, you don't win this wars by deploying boots on the ground. Look, all over, even America, for all their bravado, that's how they win. How were they able to get Osama bin Laden? It was because before the attack took place, their their listening posts, their eyes and ears had gone in to spot the man. They saw where, so then they could not move in. So didn't we foresee from history and from intelligence that such attacks could be imminent on the first day or the first week of school resuming? And did the police chiefs of the northern 19 states come together to say, okay, what can we do to prevent? Because if Sokoto did this, Kaduna should have seen. If Kaduna did this, Niger should have seen. There's no way you tell that all the what's it called, all the police people, nobody knew anything. And then Kaduna happened. And while Kaduna was happening, Sokoto also happened. That one, for almost 30 minutes or more, they attacked houses. The community was close to Usman Dan Fodio. If you hear that there was such an attack close to a university, will you want to go to school the following week? So these things are deliberate, and for good measure. It is just lack of leadership.
But Cyril, you made a profound statement that there is a goal to devalue education in the north.
But yeah, yes. Sure, of course.
Why is that still existing at this point where everyone, and most especially looking at the way the world is going, then in the north, where we have the largest population, is looking at devaluing education? Well,
so don't let me say the whole north. I'll say so. There are elements within the northern political system who are bent on if you see a governor with a PhD in public administration, a governor, sitting governor, PhD public, and they want the empowerment for the people. He's buying carts, what we call wheelbarrows and noodles for them as empowerment. What is this? What is the civilization in that? What is the enlightenment in that? To be cooking noodles and pushing carts. Is that civilization? Why isn't there a targeted attempt at mass investment in vocational education and even mass what's it called? Mass. You see, I'm sorry. The amount of money Abba Yusuf alone of Kano today has spent in the past 1 year, less than a year. The amount of money Abba Yusuf has spent on Hajj alone and on organizing mass wedding for alone in Kano. Why hasn't they put 50 people on scholarship maybe to study? Yeah, I mean, so this they always do these things. They're either building an airport or they're organizing the sort of things that are everything but away from what will empower the mind. In Niger State, the speaker of the assembly, what did he do? He brought money out in the name of constituency project to organize weddings for 100 and something girls, whose ages we couldn't even ascertain. And we're asking him, is it that so upon everything that's happened, the girls are orphans, but there are enough men to marry them off. Why are you not focusing on look, a single girl of 17, 18 years old, she should go to school. Because what you're doing, it will take a miracle for an uneducated woman to not develop education and to push her child to say you must go to school. Some of us today are graduates because our mothers in particular insisted and said you must go and get that golden fleece. So we are just fiddling with this whole thing, and it will help us in it because it is also from the north that a governor, that the minister of education brought a very woolly-headed policy of saying that students should not go to school until they turn 18. When this is happening, we should ask where do these ideas come from? Frankly speaking, so what you invest in is what you get. Today, I mean, just to go to take us a few years back, in 76, right? Murtala Muhammad told the body writing the new constitution. He said they should bring a policy that will be called federal character. That though it wasn't it before. They said they should include it so that those who went to school wouldn't take everything. So that if those who did it now, but the question you ask yourself is this: what has that policy now led to? What has that policy now led to? It may sound like a policy aimed at inclusion, but is it inclusion or dilution that we now have today? So we must ask ourselves some very salient questions. Why don't we have a strong, sure-footed national policy on compulsory education for every child until you're, say, 18 years of age? Then after that, anything you want to do with your life, you can do. And the ones who are brilliant enough should get scholarships. So you see, because our politics in itself is no longer ideology driven. So you can't have people who have clear-cut policies. We move from 6334 to 12. Is it 9? There's one we're doing now. 934 or so.
And
right?
9 means what?
9. That is, you must go from basic 1 to basic 9. JS3.
Okay.
Then 3 more years is in what's it called in secondary. Senior secondary. Then 4 years in university. Before it was 6 years. Junior secondary, senior secondary.
Yeah, 4 years.
Obasanjo was the one that brought that goal. What was it meant to achieve? And I say achieve the goal. Why can't we sit back and recalibrate it? Look, because what we do in Nigeria is what we do in Nigeria. The Chinese have their own. America has its own. Every country, it develops its own policy to suit its own needs. So let's even ask, at what age does a Nigerian child blossom? At what age does a Nigerian child come to genius? And how do we retool our educational program to so that age is an age of flowering? We don't think of these things. You get what I'm saying? We don't. It's as if nobody's thinking of it. Otherwise, in every country, you may have gold, you may have silver, you may have timber, you may have oil and gas, but I can assure you that the future has always belonged to the countries whose human capital has been the most and best developed. Let me wrap with this. You see, the Saudis have a lot of oil. Dubai, all the Arab world, they have enormous oil, but the technology is not with them. How do you deal with that? Even China, China only came to reckon as from 78 downwards. Now, India, the same thing.
Yeah.
India and Pakistan are fighting Nigeria for the largest population of doctors in the UK. You think we are not the worst? But as I speak to you today, what the Indians have done is that they brought a policy of backward integration. Today now you want to go and do medical checks, especially plastics, cosmetic surgery. India's like the mecca of that. But something brought it up. In my opinion, I feel that maybe part of what influenced that policy was they looked at their women and said, it seems that they are naturally good looking. If you want to look like, because if they invest in kidney, well, any country can invest in that. But they can tell you if you want to look like us. Just so that they've taken out the cosmetological part of surgery of medicine. Nigeria has great potential in becoming the king of tropical medicine. And indeed, at the time we were leaders in that area. What have we done with it? We've shared it away. So what we must not fail, what we must do is to make sure that primarily every Nigerian child has not just an opportunity but a right to go to school.
Very well said. Very, very well said. And of course, it's still baffling to imagine that most of these political leaders, particularly in the north, have their kids go to Ivy League schools in different parts of the world, but of course would never allow kids from the suburb to do the same. But let's go to the Guardian newspaper to see what we have. The big story here says a looming strike. Labour security agencies in deadlock over Ajero's arrest and the harassment. But of course, Ajero has been released. What else do we have there?
Okay, 2027. Labour Party strips OT of automatic tickets.
And also, we have tension as soldiers invade Okwama community again.
Bandits invade hospital, kidnap nurses, patients kill 7.
Particularly, we have an interesting story here. AGF moved to stop state pardon for indicted politicians. So, if possible, the time we have, there are two important stories here that we talk about. Number one is the Labour Party. The issue going on with the Labour Party. Of course, they've come out yesterday to say the automatic ticket given to Obi and Oti has been removed from them, which means it's open and the possibility of both the gentlemen taking that position might not be there. I want you to speak on that before we move on to the next one.
Okay, so I don't know if it was here I said that Obi will need to, at most, if it came to that, dump the Labour Party. And I like pragmatic people. In the case of, I think this is the Abure faction that is saying that it's not the Labour Party. It's the Abure faction. So now the party is split.
It is split, but yesterday, yesterday, they made him look like he is the substantive
presidential.
Yes, no, a chairman. That is a chairman of the Labour Party. So if it is coming from him, don't you think it holds
Yeah, so the thing is, I think by the end of at most today, tomorrow, or before the week we would have known exactly, would have gotten a clearer picture where this is going. Peter Obi himself has not been keen on being the sole candidate of the party. Abure held that, whether to call it sham convention or not, in Anambra, where he quickly re-emerged the national president and declared that Peter Obi will have automatic ticket. I think Obi said he was not interested in any such automatic ticket. Now, if you look at the political temperaments of Alex Oti and Peter Obi, Oti is a bit more of somebody who is not mindful of grease from the workshop, if you know what I mean. If you walk into a mechanic shop, you cannot be shy of being stained.
Oh, okay.
So to that extent, Alex Oti is not afraid of walking into the workshop.
Oh.
Peter Obi has been attempting to, skirt around the issues, say he does not want to be involved in politicking and so on. It will hurt him. It will hurt him. So the good Alex Oti was the one that boldly said, I think he called Abuja and told him, you have to step down.
Yeah.
Oh, you see, the thing is this: being brave of heart is not in how loud your voice is in how you are able to take strategic action. And for good measure, if you don't work, you take your work. But I like where Alex went about it. Now Abure knows that he has a challenger who is not a pushover. Yeah, so Oti has engineered this whole thing in a way, and they know because by the next election cycle, if Abure remains in that place, even their own political survival may come at a very steep cost. So yes, that is talking about Alex Oti and Peter Obi. Because even when it may look like you work for them, Nigerians are sort of beginning to see a different kind of Abure From the yes, they are seeing it. It's
Now,
clear.
why do you think?
May I just land?
Okay.
May I just land? So I won't be surprised if Abure wants to continue with his heady, you know, with his on his path. In the middle of the road, Alex Oti and Peter B will move away and say that this is the obedient movement.
Yeah, exactly.
Which Nigerians subscribe to, and call it any other name. It will, then let's see how the Labour Party will
Now,
do.
why, looking at what is happening, and Abure is looking like the only stumbling block in Labour Party.
In quotes.
In quotes, yes. Now, why do you think Abure is not working as a team or wanting to work with Peter Obi and Oti at this point?
Well, we cannot be definitive with an answer, and this is why. When Lamida Apapa and Abure had issues, I mean, we talked about it for long. It was about this time last year.
Yeah,
it was hot. Peter Obi stuck his neck out for Julius Abure.
Definitely.
He did.
Yeah.
If our Nigerians said, "Who is this man that look like a Babalawo that is coming to? Who is he? Do we know and so on?" There were factional leaders. There were but in the end, okay, Apapa has given way. But it appears that the Abure who emerged from that war a victor, maybe they didn't quite see him very clearly for who he was, in terms of not that he's a bad person, but maybe the perception of him didn't turn out to be what they had expected.
But at the time, there was rumor about his character, his personality, which of course lots of people questioned. But maybe Peter Obi didn't see that part of the story.
You see, when it comes to morality and character, it's subjective. That's why I'm also just saying that the man they thought he wasn't the man they now see him to be. That's why I can leave it. Because character is, well, I mean, those are very subjective matters. So the way I look at you, the way you look at me, why are you looking at me? And you say, why am I looking at you? But how you also see me? So it's that kind of situation.
6 and 9.
So that's where they are. But it appears now clearly, not that any law has been broken. They have seen that they cannot travel too far with this man. So that's where they are, right ahead. So they may come to that. If Abure will be humble enough, will be altruistic enough, he will step. Otherwise, they've come to that point where, and for me, it is good for the optics. If Nana the Usman, former finance minister, she's a lady, she's from the north. You know, the Labour Party looks to be a progressive party. Yes, a woman from the north is looks like a leap forward actually as party chairman. It will also draw women to the party. So that's my personal endorsement. I mean, yeah, I can endorse that. I'm not in the Labour Party, but I can endorse that. But anything other than that, I don't. Obi and Oti just need to realize that they can't go too far with Abure.
Okay, if they realize and move ahead to create an obedient movement, how well do you see it?
No, so the obedient movement has always been there. You know, but I'm just saying that they will say this is the new look obedient movement.
Already, Yunus Atanku, right, is currently registering people on the obedient platform.
Yes.
Not a party, but a movement.
As a movement, So, and that's, I mean, we had him here some weeks ago. Yeah, he should come back very soon. So that's where we are. So anywhere that movement tilts is where the vote, whatever it is, will go. Definitely. My personal, and this is not about Peter Obi, I've always said it that part of what we save our politics is when we introduce independent candidature. Because the current political parties as they are today, they are suffocating people. You can try it and say, I'm 30 years old and I want to get party ticket. Go and try it. Just go and say, I'm 35 and I think that I can. They're not looking for your good English. They're not looking for your bright ideas. They're not looking for nothing. They don't need it there. They don't. Except you came through somebody who knew somebody, depending on even if it's 20 people that you know, then they say, okay, you are only there to do X, Y, Z. Why should a young man begin his political career as a conduit for corruption? So,
well, independent is a story for another day. Independent candidature, of course, comes with its pros and cons. You know, some Nigerians will say you would love to hijack such opportunity and do whatever. But just before we go, we have less than some few minutes to go. Cyril Obako, speak to us on this. AGF moves to stop state pardon for indicted politicians. What are we seeing here? So what we have is a situation if Alamisia was still around, he would have had the opportunity of even running for the president of the country. So imagine that. And a list of others who have been indicted for corruption, which means if this goes through, it possibly means that these people might hold offices.
No.
Doesn't it?
I think what he's saying is that they want to scrap pardon. You know, Buhari awarded pardon for Joshua Dariye and the other reverend gentleman that became governor of Taraba State. Am I getting it correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So that's.
Oh, okay. My bad. I actually thought they were trying to.
So they of mercy.
Yeah.
You see, for me, the profundity of the matter on the table is that we need to deal with abuse. Somebody made a profound point. Olakunle Shoriyan, at one of his videos I was watching, he said, slavery is a necessary thing for the human condition. Then he said that slave trade is an abuse of slavery. But as slavery in itself, well, he's a pastor, so for good measure, let me just quote him. He said, as a child of God, to walk with God at certain levels, you must be a slave to righteousness. And I think I agreed with him. You know what I mean? Yeah, so slavery is a necessity. But the abuse of slavery, slave trade is an abuse of slavery. I mean, we have to begin to elevate our minds to understand what they do. So, prerogative of mercy has to be there. Government is a type of God, if you know what I mean. Government is in its full armada. The lawmakers, who gave you power to make laws over fellow men? Do you know what that means? Something that but government can make laws, can enforce laws, can interpret laws. A judge has the power to take his gavel and say, boom, go behind bars or go and die. But there is also the part of God that shows mercy, that says, yes, you have done wrong, but you can have a second chance. That power, for me, should be an inalienable part of human civilization. But the abuse of it, that lecturer at Unilag was the one that EFC hired to prosecute Dari and Joel Nyame. After almost, no, it's not that one. This is Danjuma Gojo, former governor of Gombe State. After almost 9 years of a torturous prosecution process, at the last minute, the matter was just quashed. Now, in the case of Dari and I keep calling him Joel Nyame, former governor of Taraba and Plateau State, the issue is these guys were taken to court, prosecuted for corruption, convicted and jailed. The president has the power to do it, but I think the morality should have made him realize that we are in such a very bad we are in such a very terrible corruption. What's it called? Corrupt political system that to set these men free will send a very bad example. Now that is where Henry and Choma. This is where I have my point of departure. There is the place of management and there is the place of leadership. The management handbook said you can set them free. But what of the leader in you that more understands that example matters? That's why I think Buhari missed it. So if you say that that power should be taken away, how about the day when the president will need to exercise it for a good man? Don't let us stop it. But we should deal with the issue of abuse. That's what the problem is.
Exactly.
Yes. Now look at it. Yesterday, the DSS went to went to Serap. The man they're looking for, I have his number on my phone. I call him. He's a man that I speak with. In fact, I chatted him up the other time. I said, come to Enterprise TV, we would like to interview you. And we were chatting. He told me he was going to come that very day. He just told me, give me a time. Maybe something happened and he couldn't come. He would have been here that day. He is the man. I've called him at several platforms I've worked. I've told him, come, and he's very handy. If you call the director of Serap, he will tell you to call Oluwa. That even people that have never met Kola, just call him on the phone and they put him on air. Now, such a person is the one the DSS went to look for by going to their office. They could have easily called him to come.
In fact, Channels TV interviewed him yesterday. He said, "This is me. Why if they needed me, they should call for me and all."
So now that is an abuse of power. We cannot say take the power of the DSS, but for goodness sake, we need to tell ourselves that look, there is the place of you just do what is right.
So, do you think this is? I'm not holding brief for him, but just to ask, do you think if Ekwelemadu makes home, do you think Do you think it's good enough to give him the pardon?
It will be. If you want to pardon Ekweremadu, so when for the record, you can go and check my videos. When Ekweremadu was being tried, I wanted mercy for him. I don't know the man. I don't know met him. You see, a world power like an African power, people may not be happy with what I'm saying, but you can't find somebody who had attained that such a lofty height in our politics, languishing in a jail somewhere. It's only even
if he's guilty.
It is, well, I mean, he's guilty.
Proven guilty.
If you want to grant a man like Ekweremadu pardon, it should come like a year to the end of his term. But he needs to pay for the wrong thing that he did. Okay, good. Now I know that if it were Nigeria, he probably would have walked away a free man. But I just personally couldn't stand the image of, because this is come back to haunt our country. That's the truth. Your country's former president, former former senate president, a deputy is for what crime? But because our own system here is broken, even Nixon, didn't they let him walk away? Richard Nixon, they did. Well, you can see from the left, you can see from the right. But I just felt that as the former deputy senate president of a country, languishing in a...
But the truth is, if Donald Trump, the good old Donald Trump, could still go through the same fire, the only thing that made him not maybe face that bar was just because of the status of the president.
So I wouldn't say he shouldn't face the music for his crimes. But I just couldn't stand that spectacle. You know what I mean? Yes, because if you went if you went out to Oxford or any of those places, and you are in class, lecture was to take place, and they are to introduce you. And when these discussions come up in such circles, it's as if there's very little to talk to. There's very little good that comes from you as a Nigerian. Your president was used as an example of how not to run a country. Your deputy senate president is in jail for organ harvesting. Your country, come on, there.
So much really to talk about, but this is just about the size of our segment for today. And I'd love to say thank you to Cyril about for being part of our show today.
Thank you. Yeah. When we return, DSS releases Joe Ajero. Just stay with us in a bit.